If you are potentially thinking about heading to the States to play football, or you're already going through the process of arranging a scholarship, then here are some pros and cons I have of US football scholarships from my experience. So let me preempt this video by saying these are things I've experienced or noticed. They might not apply to everyone, it might be different when you do it, but from my time out there, which was pretty brief, these are the pros and the cons I have. So I think we'll start with the pros because there's more of them, and then we'll go on to the cons. So, number one, you're playing full-time football. Now, this was a massive factor in me wanting to get out there. I've been full-time after school, doing a scholarship with Aldershot, and I didn't want to stop being full-time. I didn't want to have to go into full-time work or just be part-time. So by going out to America, you are full-time, you're training almost every day, you're playing games once or twice a week. That combined with your studies means you're going to be getting the most out of yourself because you're constantly training and constantly developing. There is the risk that if you go from being full-time to part-time, because you're not training as much, you're going to lose a little bit of sharpness, a little bit of fitness. You won't have as much time to work on the little things that you don't get in a group session. But when you're full-time like you are in the States, if you want to get out early and do some extra training, if you want to stay late and do some extra training, you can do. So there's plenty of opportunity to develop. The next point that sort of leads on to is it's a high standard. It's high level training. Each training session is taken very seriously, at least in my experience. The standard of coaching is really good. So you are going to learn and you're going to become a much better player within that environment. Number three is a bit of a social thing, but the friends you make. You've got to think you are with these people every day. You're training together, you're traveling to games together, you might be in classes together, you might even live together. So you're going to spend so much time with these people that you really do make friends for life. I was only out there for a few months, but some of the friends I made there will last with me for the rest of my life because you really become close with these people. You've got a lot in common. They like football too. They've taken the step to, most of them, leave their home country to go and play football. So you find that you get on well, you're doing loads of things together, mastered. Number four is you get to experience a new place and a new culture. I tell you, Hampshire in England is a little bit different to Florida in America. So when you get thrown into that environment, it's really cool. You see new people, you do new things. I was lucky enough that the town I was living in, we could literally go to the beach. You could finish training, go to the beach. There was stuff to do in the town. It was just an unbelievable atmosphere. It was like paradise a little bit. It was hot every day. We did have the odd storm, the odd hurricane, don't worry about that. But it's just really cool to step outside your comfort zone, see new places, meet new people, and try new things basically. It's a big, big world, so I would urge everyone to try and step out of the town they live in or the city or country they're from because there's so many things out there, so many places to visit, so many things to do. Number five is a lot of people think that going to America is a little bit of a cop-out or you're just going out there for the experience, you're not going out there to get anywhere with football, but that's not the case. If you do really well and you're at a good D2 or you're at a D1 college, there is the possibility to be drafted into the MLS. And another way to try and go pro with your football out there is you can play during the summer at a USL 2, USL 1, USL Championship team and go pro that way too. And my last pro is the season is so competitive. Like every game is taken really seriously. There's the league and then there's also the tournament afterwards. So if you do well in your conference and you do well in your out of conference games, there is the possibility to go on, play in the regional tournament and even the national tournament. So each game is so competitive, taken so seriously, which really helps for those of you that are trying to develop and trying to push further. Right, now onto the cons. Now, some of you are probably just watching for this because you want to know what to avoid or what to expect. They're not massive, I'll be honest. They're not big things. They're not things that should deter you from going, but they're just things to be aware of. Number one, the most obvious of them all, you are away from home. It's the fact of the matter, you're halfway across the world. Most of the time you're going out on your own, so you don't have any friends or any family out there, and that can be difficult for a lot of people. I surprised myself. I was expecting it to be a lot more difficult than it was. I adjusted quite quickly. It helps with how busy you are. You're always doing something, and it also helps with the friends you've got around you, all the people in the same boat as you. If you're someone that really struggles with homesickness and being away from home, you will find it difficult. Next is how short the season is. Now, I found this out a few months before going out there, but our season started in August and was finished in the beginning of November, I believe. It was very short. It can go on a little bit further if you go further in the national tournament. I think if you go all the way to the final, it ends beginning of December. But yeah, it is a very short season. So what happens when you go home and then come back after Christmas is during the spring semester you play some games, but they're less competitive. There's not the conference and the tournament like there is in the full semester. This is because during the fall, that's the soccer season, so most of the focus is on football. Then when you come back, the spring semester is more focused on sports like tennis and baseball, lacrosse, and the football is just friendlies, really. But this is a little bit frustrating because although the season is so good, so competitive, playing games all the time, it does go quickly. So if you get injured or something during this time and it's a bad injury, you might not play that year. My only other con is it can be expensive. A lot of people message me and they ask, like, how do you afford things when you're out there? Can you get a job out there? So I'll explain the way that works. When you're coming from the UK to America to do a football scholarship and go to university out there, you'll be on a student visa, which means you're not allowed to work unless it's on the campus. So I could have got a job at Flagler on the campus there in the canteen or selling tickets for games or something like that. But if I was found to be working outside a campus in a shop or whatever, then I could be deported. So in terms of money, there's a few different ways people go about it. I was making money online when I went out, so I was doing online coaching just to help supplement it. Some people will be on such a good scholarship that it's paying for some food and stuff like that, as well as their accommodation, so they don't need too much spending money. But I would say, being completely honest and transparent, that a lot of people rely quite heavily on their parents, potentially student loans. I don't know too much about that, but you're not going to have the opportunity to make too much money when you're out there because you're so busy doing stuff all the time that you're going to have a source of money from elsewhere, most likely. So apart from that, being far away from home, which is pretty obvious, it being fairly expensive and the season being quite short, America is amazing. If you're watching this video and you're on the fence, you've heard about it, you're doing a bit more research, you don't know whether to go or not, my advice would be do it. You can't regret it if you go out there, because if you really hate it, you really don't like it at all, then you can come back. But if you don't go out at all, you'll never know what could have been. So if you've got any more questions about America or you want to see some more different types of videos, let me know in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe. But I'm going to be posting a lot more videos on YouTube, some different things, some challenges. So got some cool stuff coming, so keep posted.